The story unfolds in a luxurious South Korean hotel, where a rigorous intern hiring process is taking place. Many hopeful participants aspire to join the hotel's team, but most face rejection during the tough interviews conducted by the hotel director Warren. Amidst the aspiring candidates, a young woman named Sorong stands out. As she approaches her interview, her shoe heel unexpectedly breaks, a potentially embarrassing mishap. However, Warren takes notice of Sorong's composure despite the shoe's problem. Upon reviewing Sorong's resume, Warren realizes that Sorong hasn't met the standard intern criteria due to her lack of a university degree. Nevertheless, Warren is intrigued by Sorong's calm demeanor facing the problem. Warren decides to test Sorong's abilities by asking her to play the piano, despite the absence of a piano in the room. Sorong, with quick thinking, utilizes her voice to mimic piano sounds. She explains that while playing the piano is a hobby, it's not her strong suit, limiting her to simple melodies. Further in the interview, Warren requests Sorong to smile, to which Sorong responds by offering her warmest and most charming smile to Warren. After her interview at Hotel King, Sorong heads out for some drinks with her closest friends, Daeul and Kyungwon. Over their conversation, Sorong shares her concerns about the job prospects, explaining that Hotel King usually requires candidates to be university graduates, even for short-term internships lasting only a month. Recognizing Sorong's need for employment, Daeul proposes the idea of working together in a store that specializes in luxury items from renowned brands. Meanwhile, Kyungwon offers Sorong the chance to become a flight attendant like her, but Sorong declines both offers, expressing her strong desire to work specifically in a hotel. Later that evening, as Daeul and her friends plan to relieve stress and fatigue at a nightclub, a young man named Chunjae approaches Daeul and invites them to join him and his friends for drinks. Sorong and Kyungwon exchange disapproving glances towards Daeul, signaling their reluctance to accept the invitation. Understanding her friend's concerns, Daeul politely declines Chunjae's offer, but requests his phone number, promising to get in touch later. As Chunjae departs, Sorong and Kyungwon caution Daeul about being cautious in her dating choices. However, Daeul seems untroubled, as marriage is not a priority for her. The following morning, Sorong, still in deep sleep after a night at the nightclub with her friends, awakens to the ringing of her phone. The call delivers the exciting news that she has successfully passed her interview and secured an internship at Hotel King. Filled with joy, Sorong excitedly rouses her friends from their sleep to share the wonderful news. Daeul and Kyungwon, equally thrilled, embrace Sorong, offering their heartfelt congratulations. It's a moment of celebration as Sorong's dream of working at Hotel King finally comes true. The scene then shifts to a man named Kwon, who is shown skydiving from an airplane. He successfully lands on the roof of a building, but receives a call revealing he landed at the wrong place, as he was supposed to land at the King Group building. Kwon, an intern at King Group, is about to begin his first day at the company. As he arrives, he and fellow interns receive instructions from their superior Taemin. Despite Kwon's punctual arrival at precisely 9 in the morning, Taemin scolds him for being late. Sung-sik, one of the interns, explains that they are expected to arrive 30 minutes early, making them tardy if they reach the office precisely at 9. As Sung-sik explains the duties of interns to Kwon, their superior Taemin calls them over to photocopy some documents. However, Kwon is unfamiliar with operating the machine, so he turns to the internet for a tutorial. Sung-sik lends a hand, but they soon discover that the machine is out of ink. Taemin instructs Sung-sik to shake the ink cartridge vigorously, but this results in an ink spill on the floor. A manager arrives and reprimands Sung-sik for not replacing the ink properly and for the messy spill. Kwon steps in to defend Sung-sik, revealing that Taemin had given the directive. This only angers the manager further, who chastises Kwon for criticizing the company and his superiors. The manager orders Kwon to clean up the spilled ink, but Kwon contacts Director Choi to request janitorial assistance and a new photocopier. Director Choi arrives, and at this moment, Kwon discloses his identity as the son of King Group's owner, Koo Il-hoon. As the manager had earlier fired Kwon, he departs from the department. However, Kwon overhears the manager blaming Sung-sik for the entire incident. Kwon approaches Sung-sik and offers him a chance to become a permanent employee, referring to him as young master, and Sung-sik accepts the offer. That evening, Kwon faced a schooling from his father, Il-han, who expressed his disappointment in Kwon's performance at work, despite it being his first day. Kwon argued that he wasn't suitable for office work and mentioned his desire to return to England to continue his studies. His stepsister Warun urged him to stay at Hotel King temporarily instead of returning home. She made it clear that he had no right to stay at their house and should go back to England soon, as she was fed up with him. Although Warun intended to offer a large sum of money to Kuwon, he declined, asserting that he had enough money of his own. The following day marked Sarung's first day as an intern at Hotel King. She was awed by the hotel's grandeur and recollected her past visits with her mother. Sarung received instructions from the manager and was assigned to King Fitness, where her senior asked her to clean the exercise equipment to mask her jealousy of Sarung's beauty. While Sarung diligently performed her tasks, Kyunghwa and Daeul were equally hardworking, serving their seniors and superiors while managing their own responsibilities. They were diligent and hardworking women who consistently gave their best effort, even when faced with intimidation from their superiors. On the other hand, Sung-sik, as a newcomer at Hotel King, learned from Kuwon that they would be traveling to England in a week, and he was instructed to make the necessary preparations. After Sung-sik left Kuwon's room, he was approached by a hotel manager named Suni, who mistakenly believed that Sung-sik was the son of the King Group owner. Meanwhile, a man named Jin-ho, dressed in a tiger print shirt, caught the attention of others at King Fitness due to his loud workout. Boyan, an employee, approached Jin-ho and politely asked him to lower his volume to avoid disturbing other gym-goers. However, Jin-ho misinterpreted her intentions and openly pointed to Sarung as his ideal woman. Boyan later approached Sarung and handed her an envelope, explaining that a man in a tiger print shirt had requested her to deliver it. Sarung opened the envelope to find a letter from Jin-ho written in suggestive language. This upset Sarung, and she intended to confront the man for his disrespectful behavior. At the same time, Kuwon arrived at King Fitness, wearing the same tiger print shirt as Jin-ho. Sarung, thinking Kuwon was the one who had written the inappropriate letter, scolded him, but he didn't hear her attempts to get his attention. Frustrated, Sarung increased the treadmill's speed to the maximum, causing Kuwon to fall since he couldn't keep up. She scolded him and handed him the letter before walking away. Kuwon tried to demand an explanation, but Sarung had already left. At the same time, Warun appeared and questioned Kuwon about his delayed return to England. Kuwon assured her he would leave soon and emphasized that she should treat him well, since he was staying in the hotel's most expensive suite. On the other hand, while checking some things in the fitness center, Warun called Sarung and tested her knowledge of various hotel rules. Sumi, who was with Warun, explained that she hadn't taught these rules to Sarung, yet because she was an intern. Surprisingly, Sarung answered Warun's questions accurately, impressing her. As a result, Warun assigned Sarung to work in the hotel lobby and extended her internship period to 1 year due to Sarung's proficiency in English, Japanese, and Chinese. The next day, Kuwon was getting ready to leave the hotel and head to England. Warun took this chance to say goodbye to her stepbrother and stressed that one day she would own King Hotel. Over the following years, Kuwon pursued his studies in England, while Sarung's career at King Hotel continued to thrive, and she was even recognized as the best employee in recent times. After Daeul decided to marry Chunjae, Sarung was made a permanent employee at King Hotel, while Kuwon successfully graduated and set a record as the highest achieving student in history. When Kuwon returned home, his butler handed him a letter from South Korea. After reading it, Kuwon decided to return to South Korea the next day. Meanwhile, at King Hotel, Sarung, who had become a permanent employee, was instructing the intern employees when Sumi suddenly entered the room and scolded her. A sweet guest had demanded to see Sarung immediately, and Sumi thought that Sarung had given poor service. Surprisingly, the guest thanked Sarung for waking her up with a beautiful opera song. Sarung recognized the guest as a former opera singer, and had sung a song that the guest used to perform when she was still an opera singer. Shortly after that, Kuwon finally arrived in South Korea and visited his father at home. During dinner, Kuwon expressed his desire to work at King Hotel. Ilhan had no objections and even encouraged him to compete with Warun to become the heir of King Group. On the other hand, Warun seemed unhappy because their father always supported Kuwon, even allowing him to work at King Hotel, despite her good management of the hotel all this time. Meanwhile, Sarung appeared frustrated as she was having an argument with her boyfriend. Gunhwa and Daeul tried to cheer her up by taking her to have fun at the playground, although Daeul was supposed to watch over her daughter, Koryong, who was playing there. The next day, Kuwon, who was now the head manager at King Hotel, realized that he had left his phone in his room. After he found out, Sung-sik promptly called the hotel reception and asked them to get Kuwon's phone from his room. Sumi, who received the call, assigned Sarung to retrieve Kuwon's phone and bring it to his office. However, Sarung was suffering from a stomachache and urgently needed to use the restroom. Even though she was in pain, Sumi insisted that she fetch the phone. Sarung hurried to Kuwon's room but couldn't hold back her stomachache, so she rushed to the toilet there. At the same time, Kuwon decided to return to his room and found Sarung in the restroom. He immediately recognized her as the hotel employee who had caused him to fall from the treadmill at the fitness center a few years ago. They got into an argument because Sarung still believed that Kuwon was the man who had sent her a disgusting letter back then. Kuwon demanded an apology, but she refused, thinking she had done nothing wrong to him. Kuwon got angry and told Sarung not to appear before him. However, their paths crossed again when Sarung presented a bouquet of flowers at Kuwon's inauguration as the new head manager. Sarung had no idea that Kuwon, whom she considered a pervert, was actually the son of the owner of King Group. When Kuwon learned that Sarung was the employee of the year, he called her to his office and, as her superior, asked for an explanation about her calling him a pervert. Sarung then explained the incident from when she was still an intern at the fitness center, realizing she had made a mistake by accusing Kuwon just because he wore a tiger print shirt. Sarung then apologized to Kuwon with a smile, but Kuwon didn't believe her smile was sincere and got annoyed. He even threatened to fire her if she pretended to smile. Meanwhile, Kyunghwa, who worked as a flight attendant, was struggling with a heavy suitcase that belonged to a passenger. Her colleague, Rowoon, came to her aid, helping her lift the suitcase and storing it in the plane's cabin. Rowoon also helped Kyunghwa carry a passenger's coat, as the passenger wanted his coat delivered promptly before he continued his journey on another plane. In the evening, Sung-sik invited Sarung to King the Land for a dinner banquet, representing the hotel staff. Surprisingly, Sarung had never been to King the Land, despite working at King Hotel for some time. She explained that King the Land was a VIP lounge, and as an ordinary employee, she couldn't enter that exclusive place. As the best employee and the friendliest staff member in the hotel, Sarung was asked by Ilhan to give a welcoming speech for Kuwon's inauguration as the new head manager. Sarung delivered the speech with her best smile, but Kuwon sarcastically mentioned that he wanted Hotel King to be a place where smiles were genuine, indirectly teasing Sarung. Impressed by Sarung's smile and friendliness, Ilhan rewarded her with a valuable tuna head worth 700 million won. When Kamo returned home, she and Daeul were excited because they could enjoy the expensive tuna head, which cost many times more than their annual salaries. The next day, Kyunghwa, who had a day off, visited Daeul at her workplace, as she wanted to buy a gift for Rowoon and sought Daeul's advice. Meanwhile, Sarung had to handle a guest named Sanghae who was upset because Sarung wouldn't upgrade her room from deluxe to a suite for free. Sarung explained that it wasn't the hotel's policy, as every guest needed to pay extra if they wanted a better room. Sami argued that as a famous actress, King Hotel should sponsor her, but they treated her like any other guest. Kuwon, hearing the commotion, approached Sarung to find out what was going on. She explained the situation, and Kuwon warned Sanghae that he would call security and have her removed if she caused any more trouble. Kuwon then asked Sumi to handle Sanghae, suggesting that as a manager, Sumi should support the staff instead of leaving it to an ordinary employee like Sarung. Annoyed, Kuwon called Sarung to his office to scold her, but Sarung explained that she was just following the hotel's procedures. In the evening, Sarung had planned to go on a date with her boyfriend, Yoonam, but he invited her to his high school reunion and ignored her. Frustrated, Sarung left Yoonam, who was enjoying himself with his friends. She went to a place to calm herself, unaware that Kuwon was also there trying to find someone he had been looking for. A few days later, Kuwon and Sarung traveled to Jeju Island to film a promotional video for their hotel. Before the shoot, it seemed like Sarung was preparing questions to ask Kuwon. However, a staff member informed her that the director's secretary had changed some of the questions and gave her the revised ones to use during the shoot. Sarung felt bewildered by the sudden change in the list of questions, even though she had already memorized the previous set. She didn't question it further as it was an order from the hotel director. On the other hand, Hwa-run intentionally altered the questions to embarrass Kuwon in public, because she didn't accept him as the heir to King Group. During the live broadcast where Sarung was the host, she asked Kuwon about his mother, because Hwa-run deliberately brought up Kuwon's mother to humiliate him. Kuwon had been unsure about whether his mother was still alive, or had passed away since she had left him when he was a child. He even struggled to remember her face, so he had spent his life trying to find information about her. Koo-won was visibly shocked by the question about his mother and left the shooting location to get some fresh air. Meanwhile, Sarong tried to divert the audience's curiosity by sharing her childhood experiences of staying at Hotel King. Warren thought she had successfully upset Koo-won, but to her surprise he returned, discarded all of Warren's questions, and invited Sarong to enjoy the sunset view. In the evening, Sarong and Koo-won had a heated argument, despite Sung-sik informing them that their hotel promotional video had gone viral on the internet and was well liked. The next day, they had a photo shoot, but Koo-won refused to smile, so the photographer planned to edit his photos to make it appear as if he was smiling. In the final photo shoot session, Koo-won and Sarong were asked to board a boat to promote the hotel's fresh seafood, like fresh fish. But as they were returning to the mainland, their boat had issues, so the captain took them to the nearest island to avoid a storm. When they arrived on the island, the captain suggested they stay in one of the best villas there until he could return the next day. As they walked to the villa, Koo-won initially followed behind Sarong because he was scared. But as Sarong teased him, Koo-won gathered his courage and walked in front. However, he suddenly saw an old woman giving him a menacing look, causing him to faint. When he woke up, he found himself in different clothes in a room. In the room, Koo-won saw the old woman he had seen earlier, sharpening a knife, and an old man cutting meat with an axe. Koo-won thought they were murderers and ran in fear until he stumbled upon Sarong. The old couple then explained they were the villa owners and assumed Koo-won and Sarong were a couple on vacation. However, Sarong quickly denied this and said Koo-won was her boss. Later, Koo-won and Sarong had drinks together. Sarong asked Koo-won about his aversion to people who smiled. Koo-won recalled how people around him used to show fake smiles, which had led him to dislike smiling people. Sarong explained that not everyone could refuse to smile, like she did when her job required it. While watching a paper windmill in the yard, Sarong appeared genuinely happy, and Koo-won secretly admired her smile. Late at night, they went to their respective rooms to sleep, but the next day, Sarong realized they had actually slept in the same room, separated only by a curtain. After freshening up, they explored the island on bicycles borrowed from the villa owner. However, when they returned, the old lady demanded an accommodation fee of over 600,000, one after learning Koo-won was from a conglomerate. Not only that, it turned out the old lady had conspired with the boat captain, who happened to be her son. When Sarong found out about their deceit, she threatened to report them to consumer protection agencies and asked for a discount of up to 300,000 won. Eventually, they agreed to Sarong's request, even though Koo-won had no problem paying the full 600,000 won, being the son of the wealthy owner of King Group. On their way home, Sarong apologized to Koo-won for unintentionally hurting his feelings when she asked about his mother. Koo-won, however, seemed to have put it behind him, reluctant to discuss the matter further. Back at home, Koo-won received a scolding from his father for disrupting the initial plan for the hotel promotional video, even though it ended up going viral and being liked by many people. However, Koo-won paid no attention to his father's scolding and instead pressed Il-hun to reveal the truth about his mother, which Il-hun had kept hidden for a long time. Il-hun remained silent, but emphasized to Koo-won that the most important thing in their family was not love, but the duty to preserve their company and wealth for future generations. Meanwhile, Sarong thought Kunwa was dating someone because she asked Dae-yul for help in finding a suitable gift for a man. Kunwa explained that she was only giving a gift to her junior Ro-woon, as he had helped her a lot. The following day, Il-hun decided to transfer Sarong to King the Land, because she had made the hotel promotional video go viral on the internet and received a lot of praise. On the other hand, it seemed that Koo-won had fallen in love with Sarong. He spent the entire day in his office, gazing at a photo of her smiling, and even took an online romantic psychology test. Koo-won planned to confess his feelings to Sarong that evening. However, he was heartbroken when he unexpectedly saw Sarong being hugged by her boyfriend. Little did he know that Sarong was actually in the midst of an argument with her boyfriend, Yoonam, and had decided to end their relationship. Yoonam had consistently put his friends before Sarong, causing her frustration as his girlfriend. Meanwhile, Koo-won, feeling upset, decided to dispose of the macaroons he had intended to give to Sarong as a gift. This caught the attention of a police officer, who intended to fine him. Surprisingly, the police officer sensed Koo-won's troubles with love, and began sharing his own similar love story with him while sharing the macaroons. Not only did the police officer decide not to fine Koo-won, but he also advised him to drive more carefully and follow traffic rules. Frustrated after breaking up with her boyfriend, Sarong visited her grandmother. She was well liked by the customers at her grandmother's restaurant due to her beauty and kind-hearted nature, making her the ideal daughter-in-law in the small village. Her grandmother comforted Sarang, saying it was for the best as you know, was not a good match for her. Her grandmother assured Sarang that a good man would always prioritize her, because she was an exceptional woman. Meanwhile, Ilhan received news that King Hotel was falling behind to the first royal hotel, and he immediately scolded Warren and Kuan, thinking they were not managing the hotel properly. He instructed his children to do whatever it took to make King Hotel the top hotel in the country. Ilhan wanted them to work together, but Warren refused, as she had a strong dislike for Kuan. Shortly after, Sarang was picked up by King the Land's manager Minso. She told Sarang that 30% of the guests at King the Land were corporate commissioners in the financial industry, and one guest spending there could often surpass the income of all the hotel's rooms in a day. Minso also showed Sarang a painting chosen by Ilhan, implying he had good taste. She believed in Ilhan's choice, and advised Sarang not to pay attention to what others said about her. Minso emphasized the importance of valuing oneself first, before seeking the appreciation of others. After Sarang put on the King the Land uniform, Minso introduced her as the new staff member. However, Kuan, still upset with Sarang, acted coldly towards her. Sungsi commented that Kuan might have feelings for Sarang, but lacked the courage to confess his love. Upon hearing Sungsi's remark, Kuan immediately denied it, insisting that Sarang was not his type of woman. Soon after, Minso introduced Sarang to her senior colleagues, who pretended to be friendly when Minso was present, but mentally intimidated Sarang when she was alone. Hana, one of King the Land's staff, asked Sarang to sign an agreement that prohibited them from sharing any information about the guests or King the Land itself. Meanwhile, Warren conducted surprise inspections of some of King Group's subsidiaries. She started with Olung Duty Free Shop, where Daewoo worked, aiming to change the store management and double their revenue. Then, Warren visited King Air, the airline where Pimwa was employed, and scolded Pimwa's team for having the lowest in-flight duty-free sales. Sohyun, who was a purser, stepped forward and promised Warren that she would work to increase sales. Warren didn't hesitate to fire a kitchen staff member with stained clothes from cooking spices, and an administrative staff member who was dressed untidily. On the other hand, Sung-sik shared with Kuan the news about Warren's efforts to boost sales, including letting go of some staff members. Kuan seemed concerned that he might be the next one to be fired by Warren. In response, Kuan held a meeting with all the King the Land staff, during which Minso mentioned that they had only received a 30,000 won incentive, despite successfully selling products worth 40 million won. Kuan found this incentive amount too small and not proportional to their sales, so he instructed Minso to establish fair incentives based on effectiveness and set clear sales targets. During the meeting, Kuan was discreetly observing Sarang, but she remained unaware of it. At the meeting, Kuan sent Sarang a message, but she didn't respond for hours. Feeling impatient, Kuan decided to call her, but Sarang rejected his call because she apparently didn't have Kuan's phone number saved in her contacts. Meanwhile, Pungwa confided in Sarang about her team being required to double their sales. Sarang advised Pungwa to seek guidance from Daewoo, whose team had managed to become the top-earning team. Gamma and Sarang felt envious of Daewoo, who not only became the team leader but also turned her team into the highest-earning one. Additionally, Daewoo was married and had an adorable daughter. However, Pungwa and Sarang remained unaware of the mental oppression Daewoo faced from her in-laws, who failed to appreciate her hard work in managing the household. Luckily, Kordyong always defended her mother and didn't hesitate to confront her paternal grandparents if they mistreated Daewoo. Daewoo called Chunjae and asked him to come home early, but her husband told her he was working overtime and requested her not to wait for him. The next day, Kuan questioned Sarang about why she hadn't responded to his message or answered his call. Sarang finally realized that the unknown number from last night was Kuan's and explained that she didn't have his number saved in her contacts. Kuan invited Sarang to dinner, but she declined, feeling uncomfortable being alone with him. In response, Kuan asked Sun-sik to arrange a dinner for them at the hotel's Japanese restaurant. On the other hand, Gamwa, while tidying up in the galley, was approached by a pilot named Yong-gu, who openly flirted with her. Gamwa, aware of the pilot's reputation for flirting with flight attendants, tried to avoid him, but he persisted. Thankfully, Ro-woon intervened and Yong-gu left. Ro-woon noticed Kim-hwa's discomfort and invited her to dinner to help her relax. After their flight landed, Kim-hwa and Ro-woon had dinner together, during which Ro-woon openly expressed his interest in her. Kim-hwa, however, warned him that he would regret liking her since she was just an ordinary flight attendant who had never been promoted to purser, despite her years of service. Meanwhile, Koo-won had planned a private dinner with Sarung, but ended up inviting all the King the Land staff, making him unhappy but unable to change the situation. On the other hand, Sarung felt increasingly uncomfortable with the welcoming event, as it only isolated her further from her senior colleagues. She pleaded with Koo-won to stop being overly kind and giving her extra attention, as it was starting to feel burdensome. When she returned home, Sarung received a surprise birthday celebration from Kim-hwa and Dae-yul, who had recently learned about her breakup. Despite this, they continued to support her, believing that she had made the right decision. They invited Sarung for drinks and dancing to help her relax and enjoy herself. Meanwhile, Koo-won was upset when he found Warun holding his pocket watch in his office. It brought back memories of when Warun had told him to get rid of the antique watch, claiming that his mother despised him and had neglected him. Warun had thrown the watch out of the window, causing it to shatter and break. The following day, a King of Land staff member named Seo instructed Sarung to remain silent as he offered expensive wine to their guests. To her surprise, the guests turned out to be Il-hun and Chairman Hunt, the owner of the First Royal Hotel. Recognizing Sarung from the Hotel King promotional video, Chairman Hunt asked her to recommend the best wine for the main course. Sarung confidently suggested a wine and explained its composition in detail, impressing both Il-hun and Han. She even revealed that she had a sommelier certificate. Il-hun boasted about his impeccable judgment of people, while Han offered Sarung a job at his hotel with double the salary. However, Seo reprimanded Sarung for appearing as if she were flattering the guests. That evening, Yoonam visited Sarung with a bouquet of flowers to wish her a happy birthday. He attempted to reconcile their relationship, expressing his desire not to break up with her. However, Sarung firmly asserted her decision to end their romantic relationship and eventually kick Yoonam out, leading to a heated argument. Distraught by the breakup, Yoonam unleashed a string of curses at her, causing Sarung to leave him in tears. She sought solace in a park, where she cried out her feelings under the pouring rain. To her surprise, someone suddenly appeared behind her, shielding her from the rain. When she turned around, she realized it was Koo-won. He mentioned that the spot was his place, and Sarung initially planned to leave. Sarung almost stumbled when she turned around, but luckily, Koo-won swiftly caught her and offered to let her stay in his spot for the night. While he initially intended to walk Sarung home, she fell asleep on the way, so Koo-won bought her a set of training clothes for her to change into. He also invited her to dinner because it was her birthday. Upon arriving at the restaurant, Sarung was taken aback to see Koo-won wearing a similar gray training outfit to hers, which led a staff member to mistake them for a couple. Despite this, the staff member took their photo because they looked so harmonious together. Koo-won claimed that he had randomly selected the outfit for Sarung, but in reality, he deliberately chose matching clothes and even bought her shoes. Touched by Koo-won's kindness, Sarung took the initiative to pay for their entire meal, but she was shocked to discover that it cost over 1 million won. Seeing that it was too expensive for Sarung, Koo-won paid the bill and escorted her home. He had not only treated her to dinner and purchased her clothes and shoes but also got her a birthday cake and ensured she got home safely. However, when they arrived home, Sarung was confronted by Yoonam, who was unwilling to accept their breakup. Yoonam accused Sarung of cheating, which infuriated her, leading her to call the police to report him as a stalker. Yoonam snatched Sarung's phone and verbally abused her, but Koo-won intervened, defending Sarung. Koo-won twisted Yoonam's wrist, threatened him, and chased him away. He then sent Sarung a message to wish her a happy birthday and called her when she didn't respond. Koo-won told Sarung to contact him immediately if Yoonam bothered her again, as he would always protect her as his subordinate. The next day, So-yeon promised Kim-hwa a promotion this year if Kim-hwa could make their team the top seller. In the evening, Kim-hwa and Dae-yul questioned Sarung about the expensive clothes and shoes from Koo-won, suspecting that he might have romantic intentions. Despite Sarung's assurances that Koo-won meant nothing to her, they pointed out that such lavish gifts were usually a sign of affection. Dae-yul and Kim-hwa advised Sarung to show gratitude to Koo-won for his kindness, so that she wouldn't be misunderstood. They started offering their products, but Sarung declined and retreated to her room. The next day, Koo-won attended a meeting with Warun and other managers to discuss the Super Farmer Week event, where King the Land would visit vendors nationwide to strengthen cooperation. As the team leader, Kuwan initially refused to participate, feeling that his team was above such matters. He returned to his office and shared his belief that the event was a ploy by Warun to undermine him with Sung-sik, who had accidentally come across a photo of Kuwan and Sorum having dinner. Sung-sik teased Kuwan relentlessly, leading to Kuwan getting frustrated and kicking him out. Shortly afterward, Sorum messaged Kuwan, asking if he had time after work. Initially, Kuwan responded that he was busy, but then sent multiple messages in a row. When Sorum didn't respond, Kuwan approached her. Sorum explained that staff weren't allowed to use their phones during work hours, but invited Kuwan to meet after work, to which he immediately agreed. When Kuwan left, Sorum's colleagues asked about their meeting during working hours, and she simply said it was just encouragement from Kuwan. That night, Sorum discreetly met Kuwan, fearing her colleagues' judgment. She gave Kuwan a gift and expressed her gratitude for his attention on her birthday. Sorum decided to treat Kuwan to dinner at a restaurant, where they had to wait in line, something Kuwan had never done before. At first he complained, but he changed his mind after trying the special beer and tasting the chef's delicious food. Impressed by the experience, he even took some photos. While they enjoyed their evening, Warun was surprised by her husband Yoon, who asked for a divorce because he had fallen in love with another woman. This wasn't a shock to Warun, as Yoon had a history of cheating. However, Yoon insisted that he genuinely loved the other woman and wanted to marry her, so he needed to divorce Warun. In response, Warun firmly stated that she would grant him a divorce once she officially became the heir to Kinger. Ilhan, who was aware of Yoon's affair, advised Warun to control her husband, as he was unwilling to spend a significant amount of money to keep the media from reporting on the affair. Meanwhile, Daeul and her team had to deal with Songhae, a selfish and annoying colleague. Sarung was tasked by Seo to call long-neglected guests at King the Land Hotel. On the other hand, Kuwon decided to involve the King the Land staff in the Super Farmer Week event, assigning Sarung to visit ginseng farmers outside the city. When Sarung arrived at the ginseng farm, she was informed by the farmer's wife that her husband was loyal to the First Royal Hotel. Despite the suggestion to leave the gifts and return to Seoul, Sarung refused and decided to climb the mountain in search of Kim, the farmer. After changing into suitable clothes, she embarked on her mountain hike, but couldn't find Kim even after 2 hours. Suddenly, heavy rain started, and Sarung hurried to find shelter. At the same time, Kuwon called her to check on her, but Sarung became captivated by wild ginseng plants near a cliff. Unfortunately, her excitement led to a slip, and she fell into a ravine. Sarung eventually woke up from her unconscious state, relieved that she was still alive, although she cried in frustration, fearing she might die there. On the other hand, Kuwon, upon learning of Sarung's situation, instructed Sung-sik to send a search and rescue team. However, Sung-sik explained that the SAR team couldn't conduct the rescue due to adverse weather conditions. Upon hearing about Sarung's situation, Kuwon wanted to use the company helicopter to rescue her. However, Sung-sik reminded him that they needed Warun's permission as she was a director in King Group. Not long after, Kuwon approached Warun, who was in a meeting with managers, and begged her for permission. Despite his pleas, Warun denied his request. Frustrated, Kuwon decided to take the helicopter without her consent. Sometime later, a hungry and exhausted Sarung contemplated eating the wild ginseng plants but was astonished when Kuwon appeared to rescue her. At first, she thought he might be a ghost, but once she realized he was real, she hugged him and cried tears of relief. Ironically, Kuwon had rushed into the helicopter without proper preparations and ended up getting trapped in the ravine alongside Sarung. Kim, who had received information from his wife about Sarung's disappearance on the mountain, braved the bad weather to search for her. He eventually found both Sarung and Kuwon in the ravine, rescuing them and bringing them to his home to recover. During dinner, Kim revealed that he only conducted business with the First Royal Hotel, and suggested that they return to Seoul the next morning. The following day, Sarung tried to persuade Kim to cooperate with King Hotel by showing him the rare wild ginseng she had found. Kim informed her that this ginseng was extremely rare and could only be found by someone who frequently performed good deeds, coming from a family with a history of goodness spanning 3 generations. When Sarung mentioned that she was an orphan, Kim refused to accept the ginseng, believing that it belonged to the person who found it. Sarung decided to gift the rare ginseng to her grandmother. Kim then offered Sarung a job as a ginseng hunter, but Kuwon immediately rejected the offer, not wanting Sarung to work elsewhere. However, Kim, recognizing Sarung's efforts in finding the rare ginseng, and locating Kuwon in the mountains, decided to collaborate with Hotel King. He also advised Kuwon to treat his employees well and avoid assigning them to dangerous tasks. Shortly after their rescue, Sung-sik arrived in his car to pick them up. However, during the journey home, Sung-sik intentionally annoyed Kuwon, knowing that Kuwon had feelings for Sorong, but was too proud to admit it. At a rest area, Kuwon decided to leave Sung-sik, who was in the restroom, and returned to Seoul with Sorong. Meanwhile, Gun-woo was busy selling King Air products when a heated argument between two passengers caused a commotion in the cabin. Gun-woo managed to calm them down, but realized that she had left one of her shoes in the cabin. Ro-woon then appeared with Pyeongwoo's shoe, offering to help her put it on, but Pyeongwoo declined, feeling embarrassed. On the other hand, Kuwon took the initiative to accompany Sorong to her grandmother's house to deliver the rare ginseng. When they arrived, Sorong asked Kuwon to go home while she helped her grandmother. However, Kuwon couldn't resist peeking through the window. Sorong's grandmother, Sunmoy, caught him and put him to work peeling onions. Kuwon ended up peeling the onions down to their core, causing Sunmoy to scold him and make him drink herbal tea, which made him feel sick. Sorong informed her grandmother that Kuwon was her boss, but didn't reveal his true identity as the owner's son. Sorong then took Kuwon to a traditional market, where he experienced street food for the first time and became addicted to its delicious taste. He also got caught up in playing a lottery game, spending 10,000 won to win a giant goldfish candy. Unfortunately, he dropped the candy while protecting Sorong from a harmless popcorn pop. Kuwon was disappointed about the candy but relieved that Sorong was safe. When they returned home, Sunmoy treated them to lunch and taught Kuwon how to enjoy oxhead meat. Before leaving, Sunmoy wanted to show her gratitude to Sorong and Kuwon for helping her in the restaurant. She rewarded them and even gave Kuwon some vegetables and meat to enjoy at home. Kuwon was thankful for her kindness and bid her farewell politely. Sunmoy admired the flowers Kuwon gave her and praised him as a polite man. Kuwon then accompanied Sorong home, and in return, she promised to treat him to a meal to express her gratitude for saving her and helping her grandmother. However, Kuwon mentioned his interest in dating Sorong, and she seemed open to the idea. When he returned home, Kuwon asked his father to try Sunmoy's cooking, and to his surprise, Il-hun really enjoyed the food. Il-hun then inquired about the helicopter incident and why Kuwon insisted on using it to rescue an employee. However, Kuwon turned the conversation around and asked a question that made it hard for Il-hun to answer. Unexpectedly, Il-hun praised his son for making tough decisions, even if they resulted in financial losses. He also thanked Kuwon for the delicious food and suggested they enjoy it together next time. The next day, Daeil had to work late because of an urgent sales report, so she asked her husband to pick up Koryeon. However, Chum-jae claimed he had a work meeting, but he was actually at a virtual golf facility. On the other hand, Chairman Hunt's youngest daughter, Yori, was hosting a birthday party at King the Land and had rented the luxurious lounge exclusively for the occasion. Unexpectedly, when Kuwon arrived at the party, Yori immediately hugged him, suggesting they were familiar with each other. Sorong felt jealous witnessing Kuwon being affectionate with another woman. It appeared that Kuwon and Yori had a history, as he had gifted her something she had desired, and Sorong overheard talk of an arranged marriage between Kuwon and Yori. In reality, Kuwon considered Yori as a younger sister, and advised her to marry the man she loved, not just because of an arranged marriage. After the party, Sorong, still feeling upset, found solace in the company of her friends. They sang, danced, enjoyed drinks, and ordered food to relieve stress. Surprisingly, Kuwon appeared at Sorong's house, bearing food for her. He introduced himself to Daeul and Pyeongwoo as a co-worker of Sorong's from King Group. Knowingly, Daeul and Pyeongwoo discussed Kuwon as a troublemaker, unaware that he was right there with them. They'd also let it slip that Sorong often made negative remarks about him. When they asked for his name, Kuwon simply told them his name was No. Realizing that Kuwon had romantic feelings for Sorong, they encouraged them to have a private conversation, expressing their support for their relationship and emphasizing that Kuwon was a caring and good man. Sorong felt the need to apologize to Kuwon for her initial judgment of him, as she hadn't known him well at the time. Kuwon understood, and didn't hold it against her. Sorong then inquired about the reason for Kuwon's visit to her house. He explained that he was concerned because she had looked pale at Yori's birthday party. Sorong, without realizing it, began questioning Kuwon about his relationship with Yori, assuming she was his girlfriend. Kuwon, seeing her getting upset over him hugging another woman, figured out she was jealous and promised that he wouldn't hug any other woman except her in the future. They continued walking and talking, and Kwon took the opportunity to ask Sarang out on a date, holding her hand. Meanwhile, Yong-gu confronted Pemwa about her closeness to Ro-woon, assuming they were dating. Pemwa, unwilling to explain, faced threats from Yong-gu, who wanted to expose her secrets. Pemwa countered by threatening to report Yong-gu to his wife. Shortly after, Ro-woon intervened, offering his support to Pemwa and asking her to reach out if she ever felt threatened. On the other hand, Sumi scolded Sarang for her clothing choices, under the instructions of Warren. However, Minso came to Sarang's defense, reminding Sumi that she had no authority over King the land staff, as she wasn't their manager. As it turned out, Warren had planned a press conference to promote Hotel King by showcasing the remarkable rescue mission orchestrated by Kwon. Sarang was given a script for the press conference, which falsely credited Warren as the rescuer instead of Kwon. Sarang questioned this narrative, but Warren insisted that since she had authorized Kwon to use the company helicopter, Sarang should just thank her in the statement. During the press conference, Sarang expressed her heartfelt gratitude to Kwon for his direct involvement in rescuing her when the SAR team had given up due to bad weather. This act of gratitude came as a surprise to Warren, who believed Kwon had orchestrated Sarang's thankfulness as part of a publicity stunt. Warren confronted Kwon about the financial losses they had incurred, emphasizing that a company owner should focus on generating substantial profits, even if it requires some acting. She criticized Kwon for his reckless actions, when not considering the company's financial interests, suggesting he was unfit to be the heir of King Group. Soon after, Il-hun joined a meeting with the managers and praised Warren for the press conference going viral on the internet, indirectly promoting their hotel. He inquired about Prince Samir from Saudi Arabia, who was planning to visit their country. Warren explained that Prince Samir had made a contract with the First Royal Hotel, which did not please Il-hun. Prince Samir was one of the world's wealthiest individuals, and his daily expenses at a 5-star hotel could often surpass the total monthly income of such an establishment. Il-hun was determined to make King Hotel the #1 in the country and instructed Warren to do everything in her power to convince Prince Samir to stay at their hotel. Warren, however, shifted the responsibility to Kwon, asserting that he should devise a strategy to persuade the prince as he was responsible for King the land. Kwon confidently declared that he would successfully persuade Prince Samir to choose their hotel. Meanwhile, Sarang was tasked with cleaning the VIP lounge alone by her seniors, who believed she hadn't done any work despite her involvement in the press conference. Sarang defended herself, explaining that she had been following Warren's instructions, but her seniors insisted she clean the room alone. To her surprise, Kwon arrived and decided to help Sarang tidy up the tables. The next day, it was revealed that Prince Samir had chosen to stay at King Hotel, signing a contract with Kwon, much to Il-hun's delight. This decision meant that King Hotel would remain the #1 choice in the country, as one of the world's richest princes had opted to stay there. Furthermore, Il-hun also designated Sarang as the employee representative to welcome Prince Samir, acknowledging her as the best staff member at King Hotel. Prince Samir's decision to switch hotels had taken everyone by surprise, including Il-hun and Warren, who initially doubted Kwon's ability to convince the prince. Kwon, however, revealed that he had a personal connection with Prince Samir, having attended the same school. Their phone conversation led to a contract where Kwon committed to serving Samir and obeying his every command. Kwon agreed to pick him up at the airport, become his driver, and carry his bags. Upon Prince Samir's arrival at King Hotel, Sarang warmly greeted him and presented a traditional Korean braided bracelet, adorned with green jade stones as a symbol of wealth, respecting Arab culture. Samir expressed his delight and requested that Sarang put the bracelet on him, but Kwon intervened, taking the bracelet and securing it on Samir's wrist. Kwon then suggested that Samir head straight to his room, but Samir invited Sarang to join him for lunch instead. During the meal, Samir shared that his first love was Korean, motivating him to learn the language to communicate with her. However, she had rejected him after he became proficient in Korean. Sarang felt uncomfortable as her colleagues gave her cynical looks while serving the prince. Samir noticed this and promptly asked them to leave, leading to a heated argument with Kwon as Samir insisted on having Sarang accompany him. Samir referred to their contract, emphasizing Kwon's obligation to follow his orders, while Kwon pointed out that the contract also stipulated his constant presence by the prince's side. After the discussion, Samir informed Kwon and Sarang that he had decided to purchase a fighter jet worth 100 billion won. considering it a reasonable price for the latest model. Sarung was astonished by Summer's willingness to spend such a substantial amount solely for the pleasure of flying fighter jets. Not long after, Summer invited Sarung to accompany him to visit Seoul's grandest palace. Upon arrival, he requested Kwon to buy coffee while he engaged in a conversation with Sarung in the palace garden. Summer expressed his interest in experiencing a traditional Korean wedding ceremony, though Sarung explained that such ceremonies were typically reserved for couples, even if they weren't actually getting married. Aware that Samir was determined to go through with a traditional wedding ceremony with Sarung, Kwon was furious and considered canceling the contract. However, Sarung intervened, stopping Kwon from tearing up the contract. She assured him that she would participate in the ceremony, emphasizing that it was all for show and not a real wedding. Kwon, unwilling to see Sarung marry another man, even in a staged event, cleverly approached Samir and managed to convince the prince to willingly hand over the traditional groom's attire. As a result, when the traditional ceremony commenced, Sarung was astonished to discover that the groom was not Samir but Kwon. Samir later appeared and scolded Kwon for deceiving him. After spending the entire day together, they returned to the hotel, and Kwon directed Sarung to stay in the VIP room, claiming it as an employee benefit due to her overtime work accompanying Samir. Kwon also suggested ordering food through room service, but Sarung proposed having instant noodles by the Han River, enjoying the gentle breeze. Meanwhile, Koryeon returned home excitedly upon learning that her father had returned. She wanted to play with him, but Chum-jae, feeling tired, declined her invitation. Chum-jae then asked Dae-yul to prepare dinner, but she suggested ordering takeout. Nevertheless, he insisted on her cooking dinner. At the meal, Dae-yul asked her husband to take out the trash, but Chum-jae pretended to be asleep, so she reluctantly went outside to dispose of it. Witnessing this, Koryeon criticized her father for being lazy. The following day, Kwon went to Sarung's room to invite her to breakfast. Unexpectedly, they spotted Sumi heading their way, prompting Sarung to pull Kwon inside the room. Anticipating Sumi's intention to greet him, Kwon advised Sarung to hide while he met Sumi. Kwon told Sumi not to disturb him as he intended to rest until 3 in the afternoon, and surprisingly, Sumi found his aloof attitude cool. Shortly after, Sumi received a phone call informing her that the prince had requested her presence. She rushed to the prince's room, where Samir asked her to provide a dress for Sarung. When Sarung arrived for work, Sumi promptly handed her the dress and instructed her to wear it for the party hosted by Prince Samir. Meanwhile, Samir instructed Sung-sik to provide Kwon with suitable clothing for the upcoming party, and reminded him that Kwon should wear the outfit provided. At the party, Samir was captivated by Sarung, who looked stunning in the elegant white dress he had gifted her. Sarung appeared even more beautiful and graceful, resembling a princess in the white gown. Unexpectedly, Samir handed Kwon a waiter's uniform and requested him to serve the guests. Surprisingly, the purpose of the party was for Samir to propose to Sarung, and he had prepared a ring for her. Witnessing this, Kwon was furious and nearly got into an argument with the prince. However, Sarung quickly calmed Kwon, then politely declined Samir's proposal, explaining that she believed Samir deserved a better match than herself. Despite the rejection, Samir wasn't hurt, because Sarung had declined his proposal gracefully. Sarung then invited both Samir and Kwon to share a meal, as it was Samir's last day at the hotel. They enjoyed lunch together, reminiscing about their school days. The following day, Sarung gave them a photo as a keepsake, and Samir promised to stay at King Hotel if he visited the country again. Samir handed Kwon a tip for his service during the stay, but Kwon protested as he found it quite small. Before departing, Samir hugged Kwon and affectionately called him brother, revealing that despite their frequent arguments, they were actually good friends. On the other hand, Pyonghwa found herself in an unfortunate situation when the plane she was on experienced sudden turbulence, causing her to fall and injure her waist. Ro-woon, being the gentleman he was, decided to accompany Pyonghwa back home and entrusted Sarung with taking care of his injured colleague. Sarung couldn't help but playfully tease Pyonghwa, noting Ro-woon's attentive nature. Sarung then applied a medicinal patch to Pyonghwa's injured waist, advising her to take it easy at work. Pyonghwa, however, was determined to become a purser this year, as she was the only flight attendant from her group who hadn't been promoted yet. She remembered So-yoon's advice about another team selling King Air products to people who didn't typically use their services. Despite this practice going against company procedures, So-yoon assured Pyonghwa that the company was aware of their actions and allowed them to continue. With that in mind, Pyonghwa enlisted Sorong and Daeul's help to market King Air products in a public sauna, successfully selling some beauty products to middle-aged women. Meanwhile, Sung-sik informed Kwon that the hotel's human resources division was struggling to find information about an employee Kwon had requested details on. Sung-sik suggested that the employee might not be important since there was limited information available about them. However, Kwon emphasized the importance of valuing every individual and instructed Sung-sik to be cautious with his words. Later, Kwon met with Il-hun, who praised him for persuading Prince Samir to stay at their hotel. They discussed plans for a grand celebration to mark the hotel's 100th anniversary, with Kwon offering to organize the event. However, Warren immediately expressed her doubts about Kwon's ability to handle such a significant undertaking, as it would be the largest party the hotel had ever seen. Unexpectedly, Il-hun agreed to let Kwon handle the event, hoping that it would encourage Kwon to become more involved in the company's affairs. After their dinner meeting, Kwon didn't hold back in confronting Warren, openly stating that he would continue to clash with her if necessary. He couldn't stand the idea of someone like Warren, whom he considered cruel, becoming the heir to the King group. However, Warren remained firm in her stance, telling Kwon that he would ultimately lose in their ongoing conflict. She argued that he was fighting to protect the employees, whereas she was fighting solely for her own interests. As Kwon was leaving, he came across a hotel staff member who had fallen asleep, all waiting for him outside of regular working hours. Kwon apologized to the tired employee, explaining that he had been working late into the night at the office. Later, Kwon paid a visit to Sorong and her friends at the public sauna, because he needed to discuss something important with her. Upon his arrival, he surprised everyone by heartily eating boiled eggs, and he even joined them in helping Pyonghwa sell King Air products. With Kwon's assistance, they managed to sell more products, but Kwon realized that Pyonghwa's marketing approach was, in fact, illegal. Daeul also recognized this, but she was willing to bend the rules to support her best friend. However, Sorong, who had just discovered their illegal actions, was upset. She believed in doing what was right and couldn't condone illegal activities. Kwon reassured her by explaining that they had acted out of kindness to Pyonghwa, who was under pressure from Warren to increase King Air product sales. Soon after, Daeul informed Kwon that Prince Samir had invited Sorong for a vacation in Dubai, suggesting she bring her friends along. Daeul and Pyonghwa began plotting to set up Sorong with Samir. Kwon, feeling a twinge of jealousy, criticized Samir as a playboy who didn't genuinely care for Sorong. Daeul and Pyonghwa encouraged Kwon to confess his feelings to Sorong if he truly loved her, as she would remain unaware of his emotions if he continued to keep them hidden. Taking their advice to heart, Kwon decided to gather the courage to express his feelings to Sorong, and asked her after the weekend. During the weekend, Sorong decided to dine at a restaurant where she'd found herself to be the only customer. To her surprise, Kwon was the sole staff member taking care of the restaurant. Kwon took on the role of both server and chef, and he showcased his culinary skills, leaving Sorong impressed. However, things took a sudden turn when Kwon accidentally started a small fire while cooking. Sorong was startled, dropping her glass in shock. Fortunately, the restaurant's sprinkler system activated automatically, swiftly putting out the fire. Kwon acted quickly, lifting Sorong onto a nearby table to ensure her safety. With just the two of them in the restaurant, a romantic atmosphere enveloped them. It was in this moment that Kwon expressed his love for Sorong through a kiss, and to his surprise, Sorong kissed him back, revealing her own feelings. They spent the evening together in a romantic embrace, and Sorong promised that she would cook for their next date. Meanwhile, Daeul and her team successfully met the sales target set by Warren. They were overjoyed because they hoped to earn a bonus vacation to Jeju Island. However, Pyonghwa, who had worked tirelessly to boost sales, faced disappointment yet again as she failed to secure a promotion to the position of purser. Adding to her frustration, Soyoon appointed a junior colleague as purser, even though she had been pressuring Pyonghwa to increase product sales. Witnessing Pyonghwa's sadness, Ro-woon provided comfort by taking her for a walk while holding her hand. The following day, Sung-sik informed Kwon about an elderly man who had dedicated over 30 years of service to their hotel. Kwon thought that this man might have information about the employee he had been searching for. Now that they were officially dating, Kwon accompanied Sorong to Kingaland for work. Sorong half expected Kwon to kiss her as he playfully pushed her toward the door, but he was merely teasing her, intending to open the door for her instead. Once Kwon and Sorong started dating, he began spending more time at Kingaland. This raised suspicions among other staff members, who believed that Kuwon might be monitoring their work. Sensing the discomfort this caused, Sarung sternly told Kuwon to leave, scolding him to ensure he vacated the VIP lounge immediately, taking into consideration the comfort of her colleagues. Shortly after this incident, a foreign guest named Daniel inquired with Seo about restaurants suitable for foreigners in the hotel's vicinity, as he was planning a meeting in the area. At first, Seo claimed he didn't have any recommendations, but Sarung discreetly passed him a small note containing a list of nearby restaurants, complete with relevant details to meet the guest's requirements. Upon reading the note, Seo recommended a restaurant known for dishes enjoyed by foreigners. Daniel expressed his gratitude to Seo for making a reservation for him at that establishment. Seo also thanked Sarung for her assistance, and she emphasized the importance of their teamwork, regarding her colleagues as family. Meanwhile, Kuwon attended a meeting with Ilhan and Warren, firmly expressing his interest in taking responsibility for the overall management of King Hotel. Warren immediately opposed this idea, emphasizing the hotel's vital role as the foundation of King Group. However, Ilhan sided with Kuwon's interest in hotel management, considering Warren's existing responsibilities with the airline and distribution company. Ilhan told Kuwon that he would consider him for the position of overseeing King Hotel as a whole if Kuwon successfully organized the centennial celebration event for the hotel. At the meeting, Warren secretly collaborated with director Choi to devise a plan to obstruct Kuwon's efforts, as she was determined not to let him take control of King Hotel. Later that evening, Kuwon paid a visit to Sunmoy's restaurant, bearing flowers as a gesture of goodwill. However, his sudden appearance startled Sunmoy, who was balancing on a chair to fix a light. She fell from the chair, but Kuwon managed to catch her in time, preventing her from sustaining severe injuries. Despite this fortunate rescue, Kuwon insisted on taking Sunmoy to the hospital for a thorough checkup. Sunmoy, realizing that Kuwon had a crush on Sarung, advised Kuwon to tell Sarung about his feelings to prevent misunderstandings and arguments between them. Shortly after, Sarung appeared looking worried, thinking her grandmother was hurt. Sunmoy reassured her that she was fine. Kuwon and Sarung returned to the restaurant to clean up, but Kuwon accidentally caused a power outage with a short circuit. After finishing their cleanup, Kuwon confessed his love to Sarung, and they shared a kiss. They decided to spend the night at Sunmoy's house, sleeping close to each other. The next day, Sunmoy came home and saw Kuwon hugging Sarung. She misunderstood the situation, thinking they were up to something wrong, and she even slapped him. Sarung woke up and defended Kuwon, explaining they hadn't done anything inappropriate. Sunmoy asked Sarung to get ready for work at the restaurant, while she took Kuwon to the market. There, Sunmoy introduced Kuwon to her friends as a potential husband for Sarung. She opened a savings account for him to help him save for a house. Kuwon felt grateful and touched because Sunmoy cared about Sarung's happiness. After having dinner with Sunmoy, Kuwon walked Sarung home but bumped into Daeul and Kungwa. They invited him for a drink to relax because their receipt didn't match their hard work in boosting sales and meeting targets. Daeul told Kuwon about their disappointment with the rewards they received for their efforts. On the flip side, Kungwa was also passed over for a promotion to a purser despite putting in hard work to boost sales of King Air products. Surprisingly, Sarung, who had been the top employee for 2 years in a row, never received any bonuses. Kuwon was shocked when he learned about this inequality and how King Group treated its employees, despite the company making significant profits. In response, Kuwon arranged a trip to Thailand for Sarung, her friends and their team as a way to show appreciation for their efforts in increasing King Group's product sales. They all arrived at the airport ready to board the plane. Surprisingly, Sung-sik also joined the trip, and Kuwon's disguise almost got revealed when Sung-sik was about to address him as his boss. Quickly, Kuwon introduced Sung-sik as the executive manager who had organized the trip, and Sung-sik played along by pretending to be Kuwon's superior, and Kuwon's secret identity remained safe. While in Thailand, they enjoyed sightseeing and tried out local food. However, Sumi reported their trip to Warren, who had no prior knowledge of it. Meanwhile, Sung-sik invited Ro-woon to join their fun activities, even allowing him to stay in their accommodations. That night, Daeul video called Koryeong to show her the souvenirs she had bought for her daughter. Koryeong was thrilled because her mother always put her happiness first, but she also felt sad knowing Daeul rarely treated herself due to her work and household responsibilities. Sarung and Kungwa had prepared a special gift for Daeul to show her appreciation for all her hard work. The next day, Ro-woon was getting ready to leave for his early morning flight. To his surprise, Kumwa had already prepared breakfast and left a note to cheer him up. Ro-woon was delighted because it showed that Kumwa cared for him secretly. Meanwhile, Koo-won and So-run sneaked out of their accommodations to spend some time together. They visited tourist spots and had fun activities. Later, Koo-won took So-run to a fancy restaurant, where he opened up about his mother leaving him when he was a child. Koo-won wanted to understand why his mother had left him, whether it was under pressure or if she genuinely didn't want him. So-run, sensing that Koo-won was hesitant to talk about his mother, comforted him with a hug. They enjoyed the evening with a beautiful city view. So-run was incredibly happy to spend quality time with Koo-won, hoping this happiness would continue in their life. On the last day of their Thailand vacation, Koo-won surprised everyone by buying business-class plane tickets for their return journey. Later, Min-so held a meeting with the staff to discuss preparations for the hotel's centennial celebration. After the meeting, So-run gave souvenirs to Min-so and her seniors. However, her seniors sarcastically called her a brown-noser because she had only bought souvenirs for their manager. Surprisingly, So-run had also bought souvenirs for her seniors and explained that they were a team, and she considered them her family. On the other hand, Koo-won planned to give gifts to all the employees during the hotel's centennial celebration. Sumi suggested providing vouchers for accommodation or buffet, but Koo-won believed the employees deserve even better gifts for their hard work in making King Hotel the best in the country. He asked Sumi to conduct a survey to find out what kind of gifts the employees wanted the most. As the big hotel event approached, Koo-won got busier, but he also missed So-run terribly. He chose to work at King the Land instead of his office. Soon after, he met with Warren, who asked him to invite politicians and important government figures to attend the hotel's centennial celebration. Koo-won firmly declined Warren's request to invite politicians and important government figures to the centennial celebration. He emphasized the importance of focusing on the well-being of the hardworking employees who had contributed to making the hotel the best of the country. Meanwhile, Daeul was under pressure from her superior, Rahi, who set challenging sales targets that Daeul considered too high. Rahi threatened to fire an employee if Daeul protested against these targets, leaving Daeul with no choice but to comply. After meeting with Warren, Koo-won visited the hotel's kitchen to taste the dishes prepared for the celebration. He praised the head chef and suggested including traditional Korean dishes on the menu to cater to guests who preferred Korean cuisine. Koo-won also requested easily digestible dishes for elderly guests. On the other hand, Young-koo intentionally invited Pyonghwa and her team for drinks in an attempt to win her over. However, Ro-woon, who knew Pyonghwa was uncomfortable with Young-koo's advances, declined and revealed he had a dinner plan with Pyonghwa. Pyonghwa was surprised but moved by Ro-woon's attentiveness. She asked if he had feelings for her, and Ro-woon confessed his affection. Though she initially rejected him, Ro-woon later suggested they both sort out their feelings. The following day, Koo-won met with Bong-sik, the oldest employee at King Hotel, who had been a doorkeeper for over 30 years. Koo-won wanted to discuss something important, but had to wait as Bong-sik welcomed a middle-aged woman. Later, Bong-sik explained that the woman, a long-time guest, visited the hotel monthly for a traditional Korean soup. She used to come with her husband, and Bong-sik continued the tradition, offering her a warm welcome after her husband's passing, providing her with comfort. Upon hearing Bong-sik's story about the guest who had been a charter member and his son, Koo-won was deeply impressed by Bong-sik's dedication and attentiveness to the hotel's guests. Koo-won asked Bong-sik to share more about the guest he remembered the most. Bong-sik told a story about the charter member who had donated a large tree in front of the hotel and had been a source of assistance during the hotel's crisis. Even after his passing, his son continued to visit the hotel, but Bong-sik hadn't seen him recently. Bong-sik always hoped for the chance to serve the charter member's son again. After their conversation, Koo-won observed the staff's dress rehearsal at King the Land. Later that night, he planned to surprise So-run with a hug from behind, but she mistook him for a criminal and elbowed him. They then boarded a bus, not realizing it was a staff bus for King Hotel employees. When other staff members stared at them, So-run improvised by explaining the situation to Koo-won to avoid arousing suspicion about their relationship. Not long after, Koo-won took So-run for a walk, and she asked if he had talked to Bong-sik about his mother. Koo-won explained that he had stopped trying to find out about his mother and was trying to accept her departure. The following day, Sun-moy returned home and mistook Koo-won, who was fixing the sink, for a burglar. After the initial shock, Koo-won informed Sun-moy that he had come to deliver souvenirs from Thailand. because Sarung had received an incentive bonus for being the best employee and had gone on a vacation. Kuwon had bought souvenirs not only for Sunmoy, but also for her friends from the market. Sunmoy was deeply touched by Kuwon's thoughtfulness. She advised Kuwon to be a filial son and asked if he had bought a souvenir for his father. Kuwon admitted he hadn't, so Sunmoy suggested giving his father a health balm. During lunch, Sunmoy shared that Sarung had rarely thrown tantrums since her parents had passed away when she was young, and she never asked for things like other children. Upon hearing Sarung's situation, Kuwon assured Sunmoy that he would support Sarung in expressing her feelings freely and promised to protect both Sarung and Sunmoy. Meanwhile, Sarung tried to gather information about an employee named Miso. Bongsik mentioned that he knew of Miso, but not personally, and suggested that Sarung approach an employee named Aksha for more information. Sarung hurried to meet Aksha, but she scolded Sarung for entering a hotel room with her shoes on. Sarung quickly apologized and explained her purpose, but Aksha refused to speak with someone who had been rude and chased her away. On the other hand, Warun attempted to persuade her father to let her take over the centennial event, which Kuwon was currently in charge of. However, Ilhan reminded Warun that he had supported her when she established the Olanga duty-free shop against the board of directors' opposition. Now they wanted to give Kuwon the opportunity to manage the event, and if he failed, it would be a valuable experience for him. That night, Kuwon asked his father about his dreams, but Ilhan warned Kuwon to stop whatever he was planning and seek help from Warun. Ilhan expected Kuwon to argue, but unexpectedly, Kuwon gave his father a health balm following Sunmoy's advice, and left without saying a word. The day of King Hotel's centennial celebration arrived. Sung-sik was visibly nervous as he was the event's host, with Sumi as his co-host. Kuwon invited his father, Ilhan, to deliver a welcoming speech, but he surprised everyone by introducing an ordinary man named Yong-soo as the special guest, contrary to Warun's expectation of Congressman Park. Yong-soo then disclosed that he was the son of a charter member who had planted the large tree in front of the hotel's entrance. He shared that his father, Jung-soo, used to bring him to the hotel, and the hotel's director at the time was very kind to him. However, when his father's business faced financial difficulties, their visits to King Hotel became less frequent. After Jung-soo's passing, Yong-soo occasionally returned to the hotel, but eventually had to move out of town due to financial constraints. He hadn't been back to King Hotel until Kuwon personally invited him to the centennial event a few days ago. Ilhan, recognizing Yong-soo, was surprised by the hardships Yong-soo and his family had faced after Jung-soo's death. Ilhan invited Yong-soo to sit at the VIP table and assured him of a permanent place at the hotel, encouraging him to bring his family anytime. Kuwon then invited longtime staff members like Bongsik Aksha, a butcher, and an electrician to share their experiences working at King Hotel on stage. However, Park, who had expected to deliver a speech, left the venue in disappointment. Overall, King Hotel's centennial celebration proceeded smoothly, and Kuwon received praise from the attendees. Later that night, Ilhan reminisced about Miso submitting a proposal during a crisis in the past. Warun confronted her father because they had lost Congressman Park's support, which was crucial for renewing the Olanga license and establishing a new flag route. Meanwhile, Kuwon had a small celebration with Yong-soo and senior hotel staff at King the Land. Sarung invited Kuwon for dinner at her home, and they enjoyed a romantic dinner together. After dinner, they became affectionate, and were caught in a passionate kiss when Daewoo and others unexpectedly arrived for a drink. Kuwon and Sarung confessed that they had been secretly dating. Not only did Kuwon confess his true identity as the son of the company commissioner and owner of King Group to Daewoo, Keunhwa, and Rowoon, but Sarung and Sung-sik also confirmed the truth. At first, Daewoo, Keunhwa, and Rowoon thought Kuwon was joking, but they soon realized it was genuine. Knowing Kuwon's potential as the prospective heir to the company, they became more polite and awkward around him. Sarung apologized to them for not disclosing this earlier, but they were understanding and wished Sarung happiness with Kuwon. The King Hotel's centennial celebration garnered widespread appreciation as it focused on employees, a novel approach in the industry. The entire board of directors praised Kuwon for organizing a successful event, boosting the hotel's reputation. However, Warun was displeased as it signaled Kuwon's progress in the competition to become the heir of King Group. She threatened the board of directors, and they chose to remain loyal to her. In a board of directors meeting, they informed Ilhan that, while the centennial event was a success, King Group's sales, net profit, and overall stock value hadn't significantly improved. Warren proposed budget cuts to save the company, but Kwon argued against it, emphasizing that it would negatively affect the employees. Ilhan supported Kwon's approach and encouraged him to implement his plans, giving him a chance to demonstrate his leadership. Ilhan instructed Kwon and Warren to create a proposal outlining their vision for King Group's future. Meanwhile, So-yoon bid farewell to her team as she had been promoted and transferred to the company's headquarters. Upon discovering the truth, Kyung-woo quickly realized that So-yoon had manipulated her to boost sales and never had any intention of helping her. So-yoon confirmed this, pointing out that she was aware Kyung-woo had hidden her marital status and believed a widow like her didn't deserve a promotion. The scene then shifted to the past, showing Kyung-woo visiting the civil registry office to cancel a marriage form she had filled out casually to mark the 100th day of her relationship with her boyfriend. However, her boyfriend had secretly registered their marriage without her consent, when she later decided to break up with him. Now, Kyung-woo bore the status of a widow, even though she had never actually been married. After a meeting with the company commissioners, Warren invited Park to lunch at King the Land to apologize for the embarrassment caused by Kwon, who had refused Park the opportunity to deliver a speech as a board member. Park took out his frustration on Sarung, who was serving them. He even asked Warren to fire Sorum, but Kwon intervened, explaining proper dining etiquette and defending Sorum. Park, instead of improving his attitude, became angrier and ended his cooperation with Warren. Warren confronted Kwon for interfering with her guest, but Kwon justified it by saying he wanted to protect his special staff. Warren questioned whether Sarung was just an ordinary staff member to Kwon, considering his use of the company's helicopter to save her. After the incident, Sarung apologized to her colleagues for the trouble, but they didn't mind because they were familiar with Park's habit of belittling others and thinking he was always right. After work, they invited Sarung to join them for drinks, and Sarung felt deeply touched as it was the first time they had considered her part of their team. Hana, one of her colleagues, thanked Sarung for the gifts she had given them and apologized for often intimidating her. Hana also explained that they initially didn't like Sarung because her promotion to King the Land's staff had come from the company commissioner's orders, even though they had worked hard for many years. However, after working alongside Sarung, they finally recognized her abilities and understood why the commissioner had chosen her. Sarung not only possessed excellent skills and extensive knowledge in the hotel industry, but was also kind-hearted and genuinely cared for those around her. She had willingly helped them, even though they had mistreated her in the past. They went on to inform Sarung that the staff would receive a 1 million won bonus to celebrate the hotel's centenary. They praised Kwon for his success and raised their glasses for a toast. After Hana and the others left, Kwon picked up Sarung and drove her home. When they arrived at Sarung's house, Kwon decided to stop and dry his wet clothes due to the rain. However, Sarung suddenly screamed, prompting Kwon to rush over. She realized that Kwon hadn't buttoned up his shirt properly. While they were caught in a romantic moment, Sung-sik appeared nervous because Warren had summoned him. Warren offered to promote Sung-sik if he agreed to work for her. She wanted him to report everything about Kwon, including his private life. Sung-sik initially seemed surprised by this proposal, but he asked Warren about the extent to which she would raise his position in return. Meanwhile, Daeul returned from work and was surprised to find her sister-in-law, Bomi, going through her closet in search of clothes for a reunion event. Daeul scolded Bomi for entering her bedroom without permission, but Bomi argued that families should share with each other. In addition to borrowing Daeul's clothes and shoes, Bomi also asked her to look after her son while she attended the reunion event. Annoyed, Daeul complained to her husband, Chum-jae, but he defended his family and thought Daeul was overreacting. Chum-jae then asked Daeul to prepare dinner, but she refused and requested that he cook himself. However, shortly afterward, Chum-jae's parents arrived at the house and asked Daeul to prepare dinner, which she couldn't refuse as they were her in-laws. So she immediately got to work preparing dinner for them. The following day, a guest approached Sumi, seeking help to find her daughter Solha's lost rabbit doll, which had gone missing during their stay at the hotel. Sumi informed the guest that the room division team had searched but couldn't locate the doll anywhere. Sarung offered to assist in the search and headed to the laundry room, where she met Akcha. Akcha suggested that Sarung return to King the Land and let the room division team continue the search. However, Sarung insisted on trying to find the doll since Solha considered it her precious friend. After 30 minutes of searching, Sarung finally located the doll and returned it to Solha, who hugged her tightly and expressed her gratitude for finding her beloved friend. Following this, Sarang approached Aksha to inquire about a longtime employee named Miso. Aksha seemed surprised by the question, but eventually revealed that Miso was her best friend, describing her as a beautiful, brave and kind-hearted woman. The next day, Sarang invited Kuan to a place she often visited when missing her late mother. There she handed Kuan an old photo she had received from Aksha. Sarang then disclosed that Aksha was close friends with Kuan's mother Miso, and showed him a photo of Miso. Kuan was taken aback by this revelation, and Sarang encouraged him to meet Miso, not wanting him to regret not seeing his mother. Meanwhile, Warren's husband, Yoon, insisted on divorcing her, and had prepared divorce documents for her to sign. At the same time, Warren received a call from her son Jihu, who had just returned from the United States. Instead of welcoming him warmly, Warren scolded Jihu for returning at an inconvenient time, leaving him saddened despite his longing to see her. The following day, Sarang received news of her recruitment into the Dream Team, a group of top staff members tasked with serving the company commissioner and his guests at important events outside the hotel. Alongside Saram, Hana, and Seo were also chosen for the Dream Team. They were taken to Ilhan's residence, where he was hosting a private event with Han. To Sarang's surprise, Kuwan and Yuri were also present, as their fathers had arranged a marriage between them. The unexpected revelation caused Sarang to drop a plate near Kuwan. Sarang swiftly apologized for her clumsiness and hurried to clean up the shattered plate on the floor. Kuwan took the initiative to assist her, but their efforts were interrupted when Hana arrived and instructed Sarang to return to the kitchen. She asked Kuwan to go back to his seat, as she would handle the situation. Due to her mistake, Sarang faced a scolding from the Dream Team manager and was given the task of cleaning the entire upstairs area as punishment. Meanwhile, Kuwan confided in Ilhan and Yuri about falling in love with another woman, and as a result, he decided to turn down the arranged marriage. Ilhan strongly advised Kuwan to forsake the woman he loved and marry Yuri. However, Kuwan insisted that he had no feelings for Yuri and refused the marriage, determined to marry the woman he loved. In anger, Kuwan left the room, while Yuri assured Ilhan that sooner or later, Kuwan would let go of that woman and marry her. Following the incident, Kuwan attempted to contact Sarang multiple times to explain his situation, but Sarang didn't answer her phone as she had left it in her locker while working. Later, Kuwan encountered Sarang, who was working upstairs, with the intention of explaining everything. Sarang informed him that she had to focus on her work, so they agreed to discuss it after her shift. Shortly after, Sarang served lunch to Warren's son, Jihu, but he intentionally startled her. Sarang scolded him, but Jihu refused to apologize, viewing her as just a servant. Sarang playfully tickled Jihu until he gave in and apologized. She then accompanied Jihu to meet Ilhan, and was surprised to see Jihu behaving very politely in front of Ilhan and his special guests. That night, Ilhan instructed Kuwan to end his romantic relationship, because Kuwan and Yuri were supposed to have a business marriage that would benefit their hotel. Kuwan, however, remained steadfast in rejecting the arranged marriage, vowing to protect the woman he loved. Following his unsuccessful attempts to reach Soram, Kuwan went to her house, not knowing that she had gone to bed early after a tiring day. As Kuwan anxiously paced outside Sarang's house, neighbors became suspicious and called the police, thinking he might be a stalker. Kuwan explained his concerns to the police, who unexpectedly shared their own love stories as a couple. After hearing their stories, Kuwan bid farewell and left, as Sarang had still not answered his calls. On the other hand, Gemwa faced a scolding from the new purser Mina. Mina thought Penwa wasn't enthusiastic enough when offering duty-free products to passengers. Gemwa explained that the cabin lights would be turned off soon for passengers to rest, so she chose not to disturb them with duty-free sales. The next day, Kuwan attempted to approach Soram at her workplace, but Yuri suddenly appeared and invited him to lunch. Kuwan firmly declined Yuri's proposal and encouraged her to marry the man she loved instead. After work, Sarang met with Kuwan at the regular restaurant, where he explained everything, and they reconciled. Meanwhile, Daewoo returned from shopping and accidentally discovered her husband, Chum Jae, heading to a virtual golf arena, instead of attending a team leaders meeting, as he had claimed. Chum Jae finally confessed that he had quit his job a year ago, and had been using his severance pay to play golf. The following night, Sarang and Sun Sik assisted Kuwan in completing the proposal requested by Ilhan, outlining their vision and mission for advancing King Hotel's future. Kuwan took this task seriously, as he was determined to make King Hotel the best in the world, not just in the country. After a week of preparation, Koo-won was set to present the proposal at a meeting attended by company commissioners and the entire board of directors. During the meeting, Warren proposed budget reductions, including trimming labor costs and facilities. However, Koo-won confidently presented an alternative plan. He had secured 30 exclusive delegation contracts with hotels worldwide, aiming to expand the King Hotel network globally, estimating a yearly profit of at least 100 billion won. His proposal left Il-hun and the entire board of directors astonished. In response, Il-hun appointed Koo-won as the CEO of King Hotel, recognizing his vision and potential to make it the world's best hotel. When Warren heard this, anger surged within her, and she wanted to express her protest to her father immediately. However, Il-hun paid no attention to her, causing her to leave the room in frustration. Director Choi then proposed to Warren that she should consider letting go of King Hotel, but Warren firmly opposed the idea, as she was unwilling to allow Koo-won to gain control of any of King Group's subsidiary companies. She firmly believed that King Group belonged solely to her. Meanwhile, Sarang was given the responsibility of looking after Ji-hoo during his stay in Korea, as he had specifically requested Il-hun to allow Sarang to accompany him. Ji-hoo appeared delighted to spend time with Sarang, and even referred to her as his older sister. He had always been alone and had no friends. As Sarang was about to bring snacks for Ji-hoo, she was taken aback to find Koo-won in the house. Koo-won then invited Sarang to visit his bedroom and become closer, but their plans were interrupted when Ji-hoo suddenly entered the room, prompting them to quickly hide. After safely escorting Sarang back to her home, Koo-won returned home and discovered Ji-hoo sleeping on the living room sofa. He gently woke Ji-hoo and suggested that he move to his bedroom. However, Ji-hoo declined the offer, explaining that he wanted to wait for his mother, as he hadn't seen her for 2 days, even though they lived in the same house. Shortly afterward, Warren arrived home, and Ji-hoo rushed to greet his mother. Surprisingly, Warren scolded Ji-hoo for still being in Korea, when she had told him to return to the United States. Witnessing this, Koo-won confronted Warren for not understanding Ji-hoo's situation, as he had been patiently waiting for his mother late into the night. In response, Warren brought up Koo-won's own painful past, where he had been abandoned by his mother. Koo-won, feeling a deep sense of empathy, went to Ji-hoo, who was crying in his room, and tried his best to comfort the young boy. The following day, Koo-won, Sarang, and Ji-hoo embarked on a picnic to the park, relishing their time together and engaging in joyful activities. Spending time with Ji-hoo, who had felt neglected by his mother, touched Koo-won's heart. Shortly after, Koo-won decided to meet Acha to uncover the truth about his mother. After learning everything, he made the difficult choice to let go of his mother's memory and placed the pocket watch she had given him into a box. That night, Koo-won visited Sarang at her house and shared the conversation he had with Acha. Despite learning the truth about his mother, Sarang suggested that Koo-won should consider meeting her to understand her feelings better. Koo-won expressed his willingness to contemplate it, but for now, he wanted to be close to Sarang. As they shared an intimate moment, unbeknownst to them, someone secretly snapped photos and delivered them to Warren. The next day, Warren immediately posted one of the photos on the internet and offered a substantial sum to Il-hun to keep the media quiet about Koo-won's photo with his undisclosed girlfriend. However, the provocative caption attached to the photo led to it being dubbed a scandal. Meanwhile, King Hotel staff began speculating about Koo-won's girlfriend, who appeared similar to Sarang. Despite her face being blurred for privacy, Sarang quickly denied any involvement and awkwardly left them to meet Koo-won at his office. At his office, Koo-won assured Sarang not to worry, as the PR team would handle the issue. However, Sung-sik suddenly appeared and revealed that Warren was the mastermind behind the photo's distribution. Warren had even tried to sway Sung-sik to her side, but he remained loyal to Koo-won. Grateful for Sung-sik's loyalty, Koo-won rejected Warren's offers. That night, news of Koo-won's relationship with an ordinary woman continued to surface, with some media outlets revealing Sarang's identity. Sarang faced negative comments online, prompting Daeul and Punwa to advise her to take a break from social media for her well-being. The following day, Sarang faced ridicule from her colleagues at work due to the news. To her surprise, Koo-won appeared and defended her. He openly admitted his feelings for Sarang and held her hand, urging others not to make negative comments about her. On the flip side, Mina disclosed to Ro Woonan and his colleagues that Keunwoo was a widow who had been keeping her divorced status a secret. This revelation upset Keunwoo, who felt cornered by Mina's openness. She decided to leave and advise Ro Woon to disregard it. Meanwhile, Kuwon showed his appreciation to the king, the land staff, by giving them gifts and asking them to always look out for Sorong. Hana then told Kuwon that they considered Sorong as part of their family because she was a team member. They were determined to protect her even without Kuwon's request. Hana and the others were deeply impressed by Kuwon's care and attention towards Sorong. Next day, Warren managed to persuade the entire board of directors to officially reject Kuwon as the CEO of King Hotel due to the scandal. They believed it had harmed the company's reputation and image. They planned to inform the company commissioners about their decision to reject Kuwon as the director of King Hotel. Unexpectedly, Ilhan discovered that Warren was behind the spying on Kuwon and the spread of the photos on the internet. He confronted Warren and decided to remove her from the management of King Hotel so she could focus more on their airline and distribution company. However, Warren countered by claiming that Ilhan had initially intended to give King Hotel to Kuwon. Since Kuwon had joined their family, Ilhan had seemingly neglected her and always favored Kuwon. The scene then shifted to the past, showing a young Warren who had won an award at school. She had intended to show it to her father, but upon seeing Ilhan playing with Kuwon, she felt ignored and changed her mind. After news of their love affair spread on the internet, Kuwon became very popular among middle-aged women who asked him to take photos with them. On the other hand, Daeul asked Chum-jae to handle all the household chores since he was currently unemployed. Chum-jae was upset about the increased workload and tried to complain to Daeul. Unexpectedly, when his parents learned that Chum-jae was unemployed, they sided with Daeul and made her the head of the household, expecting her to be served and treated well. That night, Ilhan instructed Kuwon to take charge of their international hotel network, since Kuwon had initiated the project. Kuwon then questioned his father about why he hadn't commented on his relationship with Sorong. Ilhan simply replied that his comments wouldn't change anything. However, the next day, Ilhan ordered Sorong to move to the King Resort Hotel, located outside the city, seemingly intending to keep her away from Kuwon. This made Sorong even more convinced that Ilhan wanted to separate her from Kuwon, especially when Kuwon informed her of his upcoming 3-week business trip abroad. To make the most of their time together before the separation, Kuwon invited Sorong to a theme park, where he had rented the entire place just for the two of them. Sorong was overjoyed and enjoyed the rides without waiting in line. Because Kuwon had important work to do for King Hotel's future, Sorong decided to keep her transfer to King Resort Hotel a secret from him to avoid causing him worry. The following day, Sorong arrived at King Resort Hotel and discovered that it was a place where King Hotel employees were intentionally sent by Warren for alleged rule breaking. There, Sorong met her senior Boyan, who had been sent to King Resort Hotel because she had accidentally sneezed in front of Warren. Despite knowing she had been sent there deliberately, Sorong tried to be a diligent staff member and warmly served the guests with a smile. 3 weeks later, Kuwon returned to Korea and rushed to King the Land to meet Sorong. However, Hana informed him that Sorong had been transferred to King Resort Hotel 3 weeks ago. Kuwon left King the Land in disappointment, but coincidentally met his mother, Miso, who had come to see him on purpose. Previously, Miso had also met Ilhan and warned him to stop pressuring Kuwon. She had intentionally visited King Hotel upon learning that Ilhan had removed Kuwon's girlfriend to prioritize the company's reputation or their love. Miso had asked Ilhan to allow Kuwon to live his life freely and choose his life partner based on his preferences. Afterward, Miso met Kuwon to apologize for leaving him. Kuwon reassured her that he never once hated her, especially after learning from Aksha about Miso being expelled by Ilhan's family for protesting against company policies that harmed employees. At first, Kuwon kept his distance and acted cold towards Miso, due to the awkwardness of reuniting with his mother after years of separation. However, he couldn't contain his feelings any longer and embraced Miso warmly. On the other hand, Boyan informed Sorong that King Resort Hotel might face closure because the number of guests and revenue had been decreasing over the years. During lunch, Mr. Won, the president director of King Resort Hotel, told them that the hotel was on the verge of being sold and asked them to prepare for finding new jobs. Sorong suggested to Mr. Won that they work together to save the hotel for the employees who had dedicated themselves to it. However, Mr. Wong scolded her and referred to Sorong as an outcast. Some time later, Kuwon finally arrived at King Resort Hotel to bring Sorong back to King Hotel. However, Sorong explained that they were short-staffed at the hotel, and she needed to finish her work first. After assisting Sorong in setting up a tablecloth, Kuwon shared that he had reconciled with his mother. Sorong felt relieved as Kuwon now understood why his mother had left, and his mother also found relief in knowing that Kuwon had never held any resentment towards her. Sarung then described her activities, which included exploring nearby restaurants and interesting places to help guide hotel guests who wanted to go sightseeing. She also mentioned how she had connected with the friendly local residents who treated her like family. Sarung mentioned the impending sale of the hotel, which worried the staff since finding new jobs and the current situation was challenging. The following day, Young-gu intentionally confronted Kunwa, trying to belittle her. However, Pyungwoo refused to stay silent and fought back by kicking Young-gu in the groin. She revealed that Young-gu was her ex-boyfriend who had maliciously submitted a completed marriage form to the civil registry office, which she had filled out as an act of revenge after the breakup. After Kunwa left, Ro-woon warned Young-gu to stop bothering Punwa, expressing his deep affection for her and pledging to protect her from harm. Ro-woon then took Punwa to a special place and once again confessed his love for her, asking her to be his girlfriend. Kunwa, having feelings for Ro-woon and her secret exposed, finally accepted his love, and they officially became a couple. Meanwhile, Kuwon and Sarung enjoyed a date by visiting a forest behind the hotel and having lunch at a local restaurant recommended by Sarung. They interacted with the local residents, who considered them a harmonious young couple. In the evening, Kuwon had dinner with the hotel staff and revealed his plan to purchase King Resort Hotel and incorporate it into King Hotel, allowing the staff to continue their employment. Kuwon also had several projects in mind to develop the hotel and its surroundings, making it a unique tourist attraction to attract more guests. The next day, Daeul, Sung-sik, Kunwa, and Ro-woon headed to King Resort Hotel to surprise Sarung. During their visit, Kunwa and Ro-woon revealed that they were now dating. However, they were unaware that Kuwon had already brought Sarung back to Seoul. Daeul and the others scolded Sung-sik for suggesting the surprise, forbidding them from calling Sarung. Later on, Sarung returned to work at King the Land, and Kuwon officially assumed the role of CEO at King Hotel. On the other hand, it seemed that Il-hun had accepted Kuwon and Sarung's relationship, as he didn't comment on Sarung's return to King the Land. However, Il-hun emphasized to Kuwon that he needed to take responsibility for his actions and decisions, as Kuwon had been making decisions independently. Meanwhile, Warun asserted that she wouldn't allow Kuwon to take anything from her, including King Hotel. Kuwon countered Warun's claims, stating that he had never intended to take anything away from her. He emphasized that he had always considered Warun as part of his family. In the evening, Warun had a heated argument with her husband over giving money to Yoon's mistress to make her leave him. Seeing his mother in tears after the argument, Ji-woo comforted her and expressed his intention to return to the United States soon, believing that he was the cause of her distress. In the following days, Roddy visited a Langa duty-free shop with the intention of firing one of the employees. Daeul responded that they had met their sales target, so there was no need to cut staff. Roddy argued that the employee's dismissal was ordered by her superiors. But Daeul presented evidence of Rahi's misuse of the company credit card for personal expenses. She also exposed Rahi's manipulation of overtime allowances by claiming them as her own instead of the employees who had actually worked overtime. Daeul planned to report all of Rahi's violations to the headquarters, but Rahi threatened to fire her, claiming she had influential connections there who would protect her. Unexpectedly, Kuwon and Sung-sik arrived with a gift for Daeul and her team to celebrate their outstanding performance in increasing the sales of Alanga products, making their store the top-selling one nationwide. Sung-sik revealed to Rahi that Daeul was a close friend of Kuwon and even considered part of his family. Upon hearing this, Rahi became more respectful towards Daeul, especially after Kuwon assured her that she could report any difficulties at work directly to him. In the evening, Kuwon invited Sarung to dinner at the same restaurant, where they had their first meal together. He had planned a romantic proposal. However, unexpectedly, Sarung expressed her desire to break up with Kuwon. She also revealed that she wanted to resign from King Hotel to pursue her dream of creating her own hotel, following her own vision. Alani was deeply saddened by Sarung's decision to end their romantic relationship in pursuit of her dreams. Kuwon chose to support her wholeheartedly. He assured her that he would always be there to help whenever she needed and urged her not to hesitate to reach out for assistance. Kuwon reluctantly canceled his plans to propose to Sarung and make her his wife, allowing her the freedom to chase her dreams. In the following days, Sarung invited Il-hun to lunch at King the Land and informed him of her resignation from King Hotel. She explained that this decision would allow her to continue her romantic relationship with Kwon without feeling constrained by Ilhan's authority. Ilhan realized his mistakes, sincerely apologized to Sarang, and they reconciled. Shortly after, Sarang bid farewell to Miso and all the staff at King the Land, who hugged her and wished her happiness and success. She intended to say goodbye to Kwon, but met Sung-sik instead, who couldn't hold back his tears at her departure. Sarang asked Sung-sik to take care of Kwon, whom he considered family. After packing her belongings, Sarang left the hotel, and to her surprise, Kwon appeared with flowers. Kwon expressed his desire to continue their romantic relationship, supporting her dreams. He also gifted her a new pair of shoes as a farewell present, recognizing her as the best staff member at King Hotel. Sometime later, Kwon initiated several new initiatives to improve employee welfare and expand the King Hotel network globally. He appointed Sung-sik as his executive assistant manager to assist him. While Kwon was busy with his CEO responsibilities, Sarang embarked on building her own hotel. After exploring various locations, she found the perfect spot. With her savings and additional funding from her grandmother, who sold rare ginseng plants for 150 million won, Sarang purchased the property and transformed it into a charming hotel, ensuring guests had a comfortable and memorable stay. Meanwhile, Ji-hoo informed Ilhan that he would soon return to the United States as the school term was about to begin. Ilhan suggested that Ji-hoo could stay with them in Korea, but Ji-hoo didn't want to impose on his mother's household. Recognizing this, Kwon advised Warren to be more considerate of Ji-hoo and to show more warmth to her family. He emphasized that they all cared deeply for Warren and loved her. However, Warren always believed herself to be the most miserable person and seemed to want to ruin the happiness of others, including her own son. The following day, Warren accompanied Ji-hoo to the airport. Just before Ji-hoo passed through passport control, she followed him and extended an invitation to him, signaling her desire for Ji-hoo to return home and continue living with her and the family. Ji-hoo appeared overjoyed because his mother had finally accepted his presence, realizing that she had always loved him but had hidden her feelings. The following day, Sarang completed the renovation of her new hotel, which she named Hotel Amour. The tagline she chose was Hotel Amour, where love begins, and she also referred to it as the 5S Hotel, signifying a place with 5 smiles. After opening reservations for her hotel, Kwon surprised Sarang with a visit. Sarang was thrilled to see him as she had missed him greatly. She explained to Kwon that the concept of her hotel was inspired by their time on Gapa Island when they filmed the promotional video for the hotel. After having dinner together and sharing their busy schedules, Kwon and Sarang spent an intimate night together. The next day, Kwon continued to visit Sarang after work, even though Hotel Amour was quite a distance from Seoul. Sarang scolded him for not getting enough rest due to the long drives. Kwon then suggested that Sarang hire part-time employees so she could relax on weekends, allowing them to go on dates and spend more time together. Meanwhile, Ro-woon invited Pyunhwa to visit his mother, but Pyunhwa felt mentally unprepared and had not brought a gift. To her surprise, Ro-woon took her to his mother's grave. The scarf Pyunhwa had brought as a gift was placed in a glass box on top of the grave. Pyunhwa became instantly sad, but she introduced herself as Ro-woon's girlfriend and promised to have a long-lasting relationship while seeking his mother's blessing. Sometime later, Sarang interviewed several candidates for part-time positions at her hotel, but none of them met the qualifications. Kwon then applied for the job so he could spend weekends with Sarang. He also proposed to Sarang to become his wife, and Sarang, looking very happy, immediately accepted. After Sarang agreed to marry him, Kwon took her to Samoy's house to seek her blessing. Samoy couldn't hold back her tears when they informed her of their plans to get married soon. She felt extremely happy because Sarang had finally found her true love in Kwon, a man who loved her deeply. Their wedding day arrived and Miso attended the wedding. She coincidentally met Warren and Ji-hoo, greeted Ji-hoo, and asked for permission to hug him. Surprisingly, Warren didn't object and allowed Miso to hug Ji-hoo. She even smiled at Miso. Though she didn't say anything to Kwon, their friends offered congratulations and well wishes, and Kwon and Sarang officially became a married couple. The moral lesson from the story: the best way to love someone is not to change them, but to help them become the best version of themselves. And never forget to hire a part-time employee if you want more time for romance and weekends.